Yo, what's up, guys? It's Noah here, breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Friday, December the 13th. We're going to run through this 9-game Friday night slate. We'll hit on each position. I'll give some of my early thoughts on the slate, just going through each position. We will build out an early core 5. These are 5 players that specifically stand out to me on Draftkings, and then we'll specifically look at a Yahoo core as well. These are my early thoughts, so if you do want to get all of my updated content, if you want to check out all the content I have to offer over on Patreon, I do a full written article of the slate that I usually post around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I do a roster construction video and a lineup building video where I talk through how we should be looking to build out our lineups for tonight's slate. I give an updated core plays. I just have a ton of NBA content over on Patreon, so you can check that out. Link is down in the description. We did hit our second goal of 50 Patreons a couple days ago. So since we hit our second goal of 50 Patreons, I will be doing a $100 free roll contest. I'm going to be giving away $100 of my money to one of my Patreon subscribers. We're going to do like a contest on the Christmas Day NBA slate. Whoever wins will get $100. It's only available to Patreon subscribers. So if you want to get into that free roll contest, have a chance of winning $100, you can definitely go subscribe to the Patreon. Just check out all the packages I have available. I do have NFL and NBA content available on Patreon. I will be running another $100 free roll once we hit our third goal of 75 Patreons. So if we're able to hit that goal pretty soon, I'll be doing another $100 free roll contest available for Patreon members. So I'm definitely giving back to my Patreon subscribers. If you want to get into that or get into that stuff, you can go check out all the stuff I have available over on Patreon. See all the content I have available over there. I do have my schedule posted when I post content, the days that I post content, usually what times I post as well. So you'll know when everything's being released. But before we get started with this slate, guys, as always, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you're new to the channel, I would appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button. Definitely appreciate you checking out the video. You can also follow me on Twitter as well. Link is down in the description, at DFS by Noah. Feel free to give me a follow over on Twitter. But let's just run through point guard. Start off there. So at the top, we got James Harden, our most expensive option on DraftKings today. $12,600 in a matchup against Orlando. If we just look at the studs on the slate, we got quite a bit of them. Harden, Giannis, who is questionable, Anthony Davis, who's actually probable, even though he's listed as questionable, he's probable. Then we got LeBron, Karl Anthony Towns, Russell Westbrook, Joel Embiid on a back-to-back, Jimmy Butler, Trae Young, then the just list keeps going on and on. So just looking at the slate the night before on Thursday night, there's looking like there's going to be a lot of value. There's players that got ruled out late Thursday night, and DraftKings didn't adjust the pricing for that. So there's some clear mispricings on this slate. There's some clear value. I think it's going to be pretty easy to get to Harden if you want to. Me personally, I don't think he's going to be a must-play for me, even at 12-6. You just don't have to play Harden at this salary. I know he went for 80 DraftKings points in his last game against Cleveland. This is definitely not the best spot. I mean, Orlando's a solid defensive team. Not saying they're going to shut down Harden, but I don't think you're likely to get a ceiling game from him here. At 12-6, there's other studs I would rather go to on today's slate for cheaper. We even got some really strong mid-range options, like in the 8K and 7K range. There's a lot of plays I like there. So I don't really see myself paying up for Harden. Don't think I'm going to go to LeBron either against the Heat. Not the best matchup there. He's probably going to see a lot of Jimmy Butler, and I mean, Jimmy Butler's not going to stop LeBron, but he's probably one of the better defenders that could stop LeBron, that could give him some troubles. Just not the best spot. Heat are a really good defensive team. A lot of the studs on today's slate are in just kind of tough matchups and less than ideal matchups. Giannis I would like today, but we just don't know if he's playing yet, so that'll be some news we have to wait and see on. So I think at point guard, I'm really looking to this mid-range. Even Devontae Graham, who's been playing really well, is in a tougher spot. The Bulls have actually been pretty good against guards this season defensively. Trae Young at 9,100, you could go to. I mean, his price has come down quite a bit, so that at least makes him appealing. But these guys like Donovan Mitchell, D'Angelo Russell, Malcolm Brogdon, these are the guys that really stand out to me. So Mitchell, he continues to play well with Mike Conley out. Finally had that ceiling game. I was waiting on the ceiling game. I knew it was coming for Donovan Mitchell. 47 DraftKings points his last game against Minnesota. That was a really good spot. He's in another good matchup today against the Warriors. He got priced up to 8,100 on DraftKings. He got a $700 price bump, so he's not a core play for me today. Definitely feel like he's going to be in my player pool, though. I really like these two mid-range options, though, in the 7K range. D'Angelo Russell, we definitely need to talk about. So He's 7,700 on DraftKings. We already know that Draymond Green is going to rest today. We know Steph Curry is going to remain out. Also, Eric Pascal is doubtful, and Kai Bowman's going to be out for this game. So D'Angelo Russell is just going to have to do everything for the Warriors today. We can run the numbers just this season with him off, or with all these guys off the floor. I mean, his usage rate is just through the roof. But we'll take Curry off because Curry's going to be out for this game. Don't need to take Klay off because he hasn't played a game yet this season. But we know Draymond's going to be out, so we can take Draymond off the floor. I could take Pascal and Bowman off the floor, but I want to get a decent sample size, so we'll just leave Draymond and Curry off the floor. So just this season, in 148 minutes with Curry and Green off the floor, D'Angelo Russell has a 36.8% usage rate, averages 1.54 fantasy points per minute, 37.3% assist percentage. He has insane numbers with those two guys off the floor. It's a tough matchup, no doubt, against the Jazz. There's obviously a chance that this game gets ugly, as the Jazz are favored at home by 12 here. But if this game stays close, which, I mean, is a big if it does stay close, it's going to be because D'Angelo Russell's just going out there and just knocking down all his shots. I mean, when Draymond's off the floor, he just sees so much shot volume. His assist percentage is way up. Like we saw, I think it was that game against Minnesota, D'Angelo Russell went for 82 DraftKings points in that game. I know that game went to like double overtime, I think it went to at least one overtime period. 40 minutes in that game, 82 DraftKings points. Like, Russell easily has 50 to 55 fantasy point potential here. I mean, he went for 50 DraftKings points his last game against the Knicks. This is a tougher matchup, but his price is only 7,700 on DraftKings, which is just too cheap for him playing without Curry and without Draymond. If he was like 88 to 9K, I would probably be a little hesitant to roster him, but at this $7,700 price tag, like, it's so likely he gets you 35 to 40 DK points. Like, that just feels like his floor today. And if this game can stay close, I mean, Russell could easily go for 50, 55 DraftKings points. Really like him at 7,700 on DK. I think he really stands out on Yahoo as well, where he's $32. His price has come down a decent amount over there. Just comparing his price to the other guys, like $7 cheaper than Ben Simmons, $12 cheaper than Russell Westbrook. Like, I definitely like D'Angelo Russell on Yahoo as well. And then I also want to talk about Malcolm Brogdon, who has seen his price come down quite a bit as well. He's in a really good spot today against the Hawks. The Hawks are not a good defensive team. They play fast. I believe they're top 10 in pace this season, just outside the top 10. They rank 11th in pace. If we look at defensive rating, they're 29th in defensive rating, second to last in the league. Really bad defensive team. They're bad against guards. Trae Young's not a good defender. This is a really good spot for Malcolm Brogdon. He hasn't been playing the minutes that I would like to see, which is frustrating. Like, he's only gotten 32 minutes. Like, it feels like 32 minutes is like his minute ceiling. I mean, he did play 38, 39 minutes. I wish they would let him play those minutes, like 36 to 38 minutes. But even if we get 30 to 32 minutes of Brogdon, I know his numbers are still very solid this season with the Pacers. He hasn't been nearly as good as of late, like as he was to begin the year. Like, Brogdon was putting up 45, 50 DraftKings points like every night at the beginning of the season. He's kind of come down a little bit, but still this season with the Pacers in 662 minutes, 1.21 fantasy points per minute. He's averaging 26.7% usage rate, 36.1% assist percentage. Still leads the team in usage, just behind TJ McConnell in assist percentage. Really like Brogdon here. Really like the matchup. Pace-up spot for the Pacers. Definitely stands out at 7,500 on DK. On Yahoo, he stands out a lot over there. He's all the way down to $29. Now, if Giannis is out, I think that's going to change some things for me because Eric Bledsoe is $1 less. On DraftKings, Eric Bledsoe is $800 less. So if Giannis is out, that's going to change things, and I'll probably have Bledsoe over Brogdon. But as of now, not knowing the status of Giannis, I'm going to plug in Brogdon, at least as of now, $29 on Yahoo. But obviously, we need to keep an eye on the status of Giannis. If Giannis is out today, Eric Bledsoe, $6,700, going to be a top play on the slate. Still underpriced for Giannis potentially missing this game. Kendrick Nunn, someone I want to talk about. So he has seen his price bump up quite a bit on DraftKings. He's all the way up to $6,700. On Yahoo, though, he's still reasonably priced at only $21. He's $1 less than Alec Burks. He's $2 less than Evan Fournier. Even in a tough matchup against the Lakers, I really like Kendrick Nunn at $21 on Yahoo. He just has to play huge minutes right now. The Heat have already been, or we already know that the Heat are going to be without Goran Dragic. They're going to be without Justice Winslow for this game. Also, Tyler Hero is questionable, which could open up even more minutes for a guy like Kendrick Nunn. I think projecting Kendrick Nunn for 40 minutes today is fine. I mean, it's very likely he plays to 38 to 40 minutes. Even in a tough matchup, even playing alongside guys like Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, Kendrick Nunn can still easily pay off this price tag if he's playing 38 to 40 minutes. I really like him on Yahoo at $21. I like that you can play him at shooting guard. Like, there's some point guards I like today. Russell, Brogdon, Bledsoe potentially. There's a lot of point guards I'll be looking to. The fact that you can play Nunn at shooting guard on Yahoo makes him very appealing, where he's still really cheap at $21. But other plays we could look to in the mid-range, Jeff Teague's coming off a really big game, but I don't really want to chase that. I would probably be looking elsewhere on this slate. Tomas Satoransky has seen his price come down a little bit after a couple poor performances. I think going back to him makes plenty of sense here against the Hornets. 5,400, he's fine as a mid-range option. Alec Burks, I expect to see a big bump in usage in this game. Even with D'Angelo Russell healthy, he still sees a bump with Draymond Green off the floor. I do prefer to go to some of the other guys from the Warriors like Russell or just play some of the really cheap guys, but Alec Burks for 5,300 easily can give you 6 to 7x value. I know they played the Jazz earlier this season and he had a really big game. I think they played them twice. He had a big game, 40 DraftKings points one time, and then the other time not so much. But you're going to get Alec Burks playing pretty big minutes because of how thin the Warriors are right now. He's going to soak up a lot of usage with Draymond off the floor. Obviously, no Curry as well. So he's firmly in play at 5,300. For value, though, I think Chris Dunn's a guy you could definitely look to as a value. DJ Augustine should start again today with Markelle Fultz doubtful. 4,400, I definitely got burned by him last slate. 27 minutes against the Lakers. He started that game. I did play a decent amount of him once we got the news that Fultz was out and he was going to start. Very disappointing game. 7 DraftKings points from him. Much better matchup here, though, against the Rockets. I think you could definitely target DJ Augustine as a value point guard if you are going cheap here. But the guy that I want to talk about is DeAnthony Melton. So one of the reasons, like I said at the beginning of the video, that DraftKings didn't adjust pricing, we do know that the Grizzlies are going to be without Ja Morant today and Grayson Allen, which just frees up so many minutes in the backcourt. You're going to see a guy like DeAnthony Melton, guys like Tyus Jones. These two guys would probably both play at least 24 to 26 minutes today. I think it's very likely that Tyus Jones draws the start. And at 3,700, I think he's going to be really popular. I love Tyus Jones as a player, but he just has not been that productive this season in the starting lineup. I like going to DeAnthony Melton over Tyus Jones today, especially with how Melton has performed. He's just been a much more productive player for fantasy. Even if he plays less minutes than Tyus Jones, he's just been like a point per minute guy, whereas Tyus Jones will play 30 minutes and score 15 DraftKings points. Melton's going out there in 20 minutes and putting up 20 DK points in 20 minutes. Against the Bucks, nice pace-up spot. I mean, both of these teams play relatively fast. Bucks are first in the league. Grizzlies rank 6th. Regardless, though, there's a chance this game gets ugly if Giannis plays. I mean, so there's some blowout potential here. If the game does blow out, I think you'll still get DeAnthony Melton out there playing in a blowout. 3,900, he feels like a really good value just given the injuries to the guards for Memphis right now. He's minimum salary on Yahoo, so firmly in play as a value over there. Both him and Tyus Jones are minimum salary. Like I said earlier, if Tyus Jones starts, I do expect him to be much more popular. I really like pivoting to DeAnthony Melton in tournaments. Should come in a lot lower owned. And then obviously if you want to go to Jones, you can, but I think Jones is going to be really popular since he'll probably start. Just give me DeAnthony Melton for a little bit more salary and probably a quarter of the ownership. But let's go ahead and talk about some shooting guard plays now. So don't think I'm going to really be paying up much of this position. Jimmy Butler's been awesome lately. This is definitely a tough matchup, though, against the Lakers. He's up to 9,500 on this slate as well. Even for him to be a good tournament play at this price, you need him to drop close to 60 DraftKings points. Obviously, Jimmy Butler can do that, but I'd be a little hesitant on rostering him at 9,500 today. I think there's other studs I'd rather go to on this slate. If Giannis plays, I'd rather get up to Giannis. I think I would prefer a guy like Anthony Davis. I'd prefer Karl-Anthony Towns. Assuming Joel Embiid plays today, 9,600, I prefer him. So don't really see myself going to Butler. Not really going to be on Kawhi on this slate. Whenever both Kawhi and Paul George are healthy, I rarely play one of those guys. Donovan Mitchell, I did mention you could go to. Russell and Brogdon, I think you can both play them at shooting guard if you want to go to them. Chris Middleton will be a great play today. If Giannis is out, we'll need to keep an eye on that. just in the like 6 to 5K range. Like Joe Ingles is starting to play much better as of late now that he's back in the starting lineup, starting for Conley. Been much more productive the last 3 games, over 30 DraftKings points in 3 straight. Played 34 and 36 minutes the last 2, so the minutes have been up for Joe Ingles as well. Great matchup against the Warriors. His price is up to 5,800 though on DK, so he's not like a lock and load play for me. But definitely he's going to be in my player pool for sure if I'm playing multiple lineups. Talked about Alec Burks. I do like Alec Burks quite a bit. Patrick Beverley is going to be out today. I think that could definitely open up some value here. So I would imagine that they probably start like Terrence Mann at point guard. I mean, Terrence Mann is minimum salary 3K. Like, you don't expect him to do much playing alongside Kawhi Leonard, playing alongside Paul George. But if he's gonna start for Patrick Beverley, minimum salary, I mean, he'd be a fine like shooting guard value, shooting guard and small forward. Now there's a chance they just start Lou Williams at point guard. I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. So, I mean, I guess Lou Will would become in play. I would feel better projecting Lou Will for a few more minutes if he is the starter. We'll just kind of have to keep an eye on the starter for Patrick Beverley. I don't think they didn't write in the blurb who they expect to start. Let's see if Yahoo did, who they would expect to start. I mean, I think it would be Terrence Mann, but honestly, I have no idea. Clippers lean more on Mo Harkless, Patrick Beverley. Jerome Robertson also picked up minutes off the bench, so it could be Lou Williams, it could be Jerome Robinson, it could be Terrence Mann. That's just something we'll just kind of have to wait and see as the day goes on Friday. Dylan Brooks sees a nice bump in usage when Ja Morant's off the floor. Ja Morant out today, so Dylan Brooks at 5,100, firmly in play as a shooting guard option. We'll need to keep an eye on the status of Tyler Hero. If he's out today, that should just open up even more minutes for Kendrick Nunn, who I talked about earlier. JJ Redick revenge game, if you want to go there, 4,900. Glenn Robinson should play pretty big minutes today. Tough matchup, but there's just somebody has to take some shots for the Warriors. Robinson's played big minutes the last few games. You never know what you're going to get from him, but if he's going to play 34, 36 minutes without Draymond Green, without Steph Curry, he should be able to do something. I mean, somebody's got to shoot the ball, so 4,500 for Glenn Robinson as a value play. I could see going there, but I think we covered shooting guard, at least like for values. I don't think there's any punt plays I really like here, besides the guys I've already talked about that you can play at shooting guard. So moving on to small forward, definitely like Giannis today if he is able to play. He's questionable heading into this game. I think this is a back-to-back for the Bucks, and I believe they do play a Saturday night game against I'm not sure who they play Saturday night. If it's like a big-time game, I'm not sure who they play, but if it's like a big-time game, I could see Giannis sitting this one out and then playing on Saturday, especially because they should be able to beat this Memphis team pretty easily. If I had to guess, I would say Giannis probably sits today, but honestly, I have no idea, so we'll just kind of have to wait and see. If he is able to play, though, and he's not limited, 11-2 for Giannis in a fast-paced game against the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies, they're not going to have anybody that can slow him down. Nobody slows down Giannis, so he'd probably be one of my favorite studs on the slate. I would prefer him over LeBron. I prefer him over Jimmy Butler, PG, all these guys at the top. Giannis would be my top play here. But if I'm not going to him, then probably looking to the mid-range for options. Obviously, if Giannis is out, Chris Middleton, 6,800 would be a lock and load. Jonathan Isaac, I think, is too cheap today. 6,100 on DraftKings in a pace-up spot against the Rockets. Firmly in play at small forward. He's a guy that I like to roster. He's one of my favorite players in the league. He went to my favorite school, so I think he's firmly in play at 6,100. You can play Joe Ingles at small forward. Satoransky, I mentioned earlier, you can play him at small forward. Dylan Brooks, with Morant out, you can play at small forward. If you want to chase the JJ Redick revenge game, he's small forward eligible. Eric Pascal's out today, so we'll talk more about that when we get to power forward. I think there could definitely be some value there with Eric Pascal out. Chris Dunn, I think, is in play as a value. Glenn Robinson, you could look to. I know Kevin Huerter's been limited on his minutes lately. He's still been pretty productive. The last 3 games, 28, 25, 19 DraftKings points. He's been limited to 25 minutes. On a 9-game slate, I don't think we're going to need to go to Kevin Huerter, but if we do get the news that he's not limited, 4K for Kevin Huerter, especially because he's playing like backup point guard now. He's been getting a lot of assists. He could be a guy you look to as a value. But I think that's it for small forward. Pretty easy position. This is kind of like a wait and see position. Like if Giannis plays, I really like him. If he's out, these mid-range options, especially Chris Middleton, that's where I'd probably be looking to. But now at power forward, I definitely think AD is one of the better stud options today. 10,100 against the Heat. It's not the best matchup for Anthony Davis. I mean, this Heat team is really good defensively, but AD is just so good. I mean, he did put up 55 DraftKings points earlier this season against the Heat, which is pretty solid for 10-1. He's just such a good fantasy player. Just has so much upside. 10,100 is too cheap of a price tag for Anthony Davis. This guy has a legit 70 to 75 point upside. He'd probably be like my third ranked stud today. I think Giannis would be number one, assuming he plays. Karl Anthony Towns, we're going to talk about, I think, is number two, and then I'd have AD number three. But there should be a lot of value today. There already is a decent amount of value, so it should be pretty easy to get to Davis if you do want to go that route. Domantas Sabonis, 8,100 against the Hawks, firmly in play if you are going to pay up at power forward. In this mid-range, I guess there's some options here you could look to, like Jonathan Isaac you could play. Maybe Jaren Jackson Jr. you could look to. I'd probably prefer to go to Isaac, though, for just 100 less. Al Horford did not play on Thursday night. We'll have to wait and see on his status for Friday if he's able to play. We'll just kind of have to wait and see there. In the 5K range, I mean, there's not much I really like here. Like, you could definitely look to Rashawn Holmes, but now that Marvin Bagley's back, I think that's going to take away minutes from Rashawn Holmes. Miles Bridges is a fine play, but I don't really get too invested on Miles Bridges on a 9-game slate. Like, the only time I've ever played Bridges this season is on, like, shorter slates. I mean, TJ Warren feels too cheap at 5K against the Hawks, but, like, what's the upside for TJ Warren? 30 DraftKings points? Like, I mean, I don't know. I just don't need to play TJ Warren on a 9-game slate. Like, even if he gets 30 DK points, like, you can make that up elsewhere. So, there's a lot of value here. I think that's what we really need to touch on. So, given the injury to Eric Pascal, that's going to free up a lot of minutes in the front court for the Warriors. We do already know that Draymond Green is going to be out as well. I honestly have no idea who they're going to start at power forward, if it's going to be, or since I know Pascal and Green have both been starting this season, so I'm pretty sure their starting lineup has been Russell, Glenn Robinson, Pascal, Draymond, and then Willie Cauley-Stein. So with both Pascal and Draymond out today, you'll probably see Alec Burks move back into the starting lineup, and then I think one of either Marquise Chris or Amari Spellman will draw the start at power forward. Both of them are really cheap today. Marquise Chris is 3,800 on DraftKings. Amari Spellman is 3,100. Right now, but choosing between the two guys, I'd have to imagine that Chris sees more minutes and potentially could draw the start. I mean, he played 24 minutes in that game, in their last game against the Knicks. He was very productive with 36 DraftKings points. I mean, this is a guy that can be productive when he's on the floor. He can score, he can rebound, he can block shots, he can get assists. I mean, it's not a good matchup against the Jazz, but even if you get 25 minutes of Chris, like, he can easily go for 25 to 30 DraftKings points. Power forward and center eligible on DK, which I really like. He's dirt cheap on Yahoo. You can only play him at center, which sucks, but I mean, he's still $11 at center, especially if he gets announced the starter. I mean, this is a 9 o'clock game, so I doubt we get the starting lineup before lock, but if we do know that Chris is going to be the starter at power forward, he's probably one of the better value plays on today's slate. I would say it's likely that even in a blowout, Chris probably still plays, even if it is a blowout. So definitely like him as a really cheap option. I can actually pull up his like point per minute rates this season with the Warriors. I'm pretty sure he's been like a point per minute player with Draymond and Curry off the floor. Let's take Curry off the floor. We probably take Pascal off the floor as well. See how much he's played without Pascal out there as well. So Marquise Chris has played 166 minutes with all of Curry, Green, and Pascal off the floor this season. Low usage rate, but 17.7% assist percentage, 15.2% total rebound percentage, averaging just over a fantasy point per minute. So you give him 25 minutes, he probably projects for 25 DraftKings points, and at 3,800, that's pretty damn good on as a value play, at least on a 9-game slate. Like, I think Melton and Chris, like the Warriors front court and the Memphis backcourt, I think is where we're looking to for value, at least as of now. And there couldn't maybe be even more value as well. Then Derek Favors, if he's able to play today, 4,600. Like, I keep writing Derek Favors up in my article. I keep talking about him in my YouTube videos. One of these games when he does wind up playing, I'm going to have a lot of interest in him, assuming he's back in the starting lineup and playing 30 minutes. Because when he was starting and playing 30 minutes before the injury and before the death of his mother, I mean, he was putting up 30 to 40 DraftKings points a night. He's a very productive player. They're going to need his size here against Joel Embiid. So if we can confirm that Favors is starting today, is playing today, and not going to have a minutes limit, 4,600, like, I'd try and find $800 and get up from Chris to Favors but as of now, we don't know the status of Favors, so we'll just kind of have to wait and see there. Ersan Ilyasova will be another good value if Giannis is out, but honestly, I'd rather play Derek Favors if he's able to play. I feel like you get more upside out of Favors. But let's go ahead and run through the center position real quick just before we end the video. So definitely want to talk about Karl-Anthony Towns today. I think he's one of the better stud options here. 9,900 against the Clippers. The Clippers haven't been like nearly as bad defensively versus centers as they have been in like the last few seasons, like last season and the season before. Like everybody knew that like this match or taking centers against the Clippers was like the go-to matchup. They've been much better versus centers defensively this season, but this is still a matchup I think Karl-Anthony Towns can have a lot of success in. The dude plays huge minutes every night, 35, 36, close to 38 minutes a night. He's a very productive player. I mean, he's getting you probably 55 to 60 Draftkings points most nights in competitive games. He's playing huge minutes in competitive games. I think I do slightly prefer him over Anthony Davis today. I want to try and get up to Giannis, but we don't know the status of Giannis as of now, so I'm fine plugging in Towns as one of the better stud options and plugging him into the 5 plays. Joel Embiid I like a lot in this spot as well against the Pelicans, especially if they're going to be without Derek Favors. This is a back-to-back for the Sixers, and I know they've rested Embiid on back-to-back some this season. We don't know yet if he's going to rest. I mean, we don't know at least as of Thursday night, so we'll need to keep an eye on that. I'd still prefer Towns over him, but would definitely have Joel Embiid in my player pool for today for sure. Tough matchup for Adebayo, but I mean, the dude's just so productive right now. Like, it's literally him and Jimmy Butler just doing everything for this Heat team. I mean, I know the Lakers have been like one of the best defensive teams versus power forwards and centers this season, but you're getting Bam Adebayo playing huge minutes, 36 to 38 minutes every night. He's been an absolute monster lately, over 50 Draftkings points in 3 straight games. I doubt he gets you 50 DK points today, but even 45, even like 40 to 45 at 8,500 isn't bad. So he's firmly in play, but not a core play for me like he has been on the last few slates. Sabonis I really like against the Hawks. I think he's a guy you could look to. Really good matchup for Wendell Carter Jr. I expect him to be pretty low owned on today's slate, so you could definitely look to him against the Hornets. Hornets have been one of the worst defensive teams versus centers this season. Jonas Valanciunas, his minutes have been a little iffy lately, and it's definitely come back to bite me. I've been on him quite a bit the last few games. I know he dealt with some foul trouble in that game against the Warriors, and then against the Suns, he only played 25 minutes. But without Morant, he does see a boost. I mean, Joe Val's just such a productive player. This guy has 50-point upside. I mean, every time he steps on the floor. Milwaukee doesn't seem like an ideal matchup for him. Like, this could definitely be a spot where he kind of gets run off the floor. But the upside's still there for Jonas Valanciunas, so he would definitely be in my player pool in this Friday or on this Friday night slate for sure. Definitely be a guy I want some exposure to. Not much in the mid-ranges center that I really like. Brook Lopez I'll be going back to if Giannis is out. He didn't have that great of a game last game. Finished with 21 Draftkings points in 25 minutes, but I would still have some interest in him at 4,800, especially with everybody probably looking to roster Bledsoe and Middleton. People will overlook Brook Lopez. It's a really good matchup for these Charlotte centers, whether it's Zeller or Biyombo that you go to, but you just never know which one of these guys is going to have the big game. Like last game, I did play a decent amount of Biyombo, and Cody Zeller played 20 minutes, had 23 Draftkings points. I think Biyombo played like 22 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. He actually played 24 minutes, had 15 DK points. He wasn't as productive, but I mean, centers against the Bulls, centers against the Hornets, like these two teams have been one of the worst defensive teams versus bigs this season. Biyombo put up 35 Draftkings points in 23 minutes earlier this year against the Bulls, so as a value play on a 9-game slate, he's going to come in incredibly low-owned, I would imagine. So definitely like taking some shots on Bismack Biyombo as a center value, given that he's probably going to be low-owned today. Willie Cauley-Stein I would have interest in with all the injuries to the front court of the Warriors, but they're just not giving him minutes. I mean, if he would play 30 minutes, I would have a ton of interest in him, but it seems like he's like locked into 22 to 24 minutes and really nothing more. So hard for me to have a ton of confidence in him. So I think that's it for center, guys. I think we pretty much covered everything, went through each position, just kind of talked about the early thoughts or my early interests, I guess. Gave some of my early thoughts. These are the 5 plays for now. I expect things to change today, given all the injury news we're still waiting on, especially the status of Giannis, as that's greatly going to impact the slate. If you guys want to get access to all of my updated content, my article, my other videos I upload, I do give an updated core plays as well. All that can be found over on Patreon. If you do join the Patreon, you will be invited to our $100 free roll contest that I'll be running on Christmas Day for the Christmas Day NBA slate. If you stick with us, or if you stick with the Patreon, and once we hit our goal of 75 Patreons, you'll be invited to our next $100 free roll. I think every time I get like 25 more Patreons, like I had my first goal of 25, we hit that. Had a second goal of 50, and we recently hit that. And once we hit our third goal of 75 subscribers on Patreon, I will be doing another $100 free roll, which will only be available for Patreon members. So if you want to get access to all that stuff, get access to my content, get access to the free roll, check out the Patreon down below. See all the NBA and NFL content I have to offer. You can choose a package which works best for you. If you want to get both sports, I do have combined or like bundle packages. You can get both sports at a cheaper price. So give the Patreon or check out the Patreon down below. You can follow me on Twitter as well. Link to my Twitter is down below. Make sure to drop a like on this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Click that notification bell so that way you get notified every time I upload. And if you have not yet, like I said, you can follow me on Twitter and you can check out the Patreon. But good luck tonight, guys. Thanks for watching. I greatly appreciate it. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.